Welcome to Happy Homes and Gardens. I'm your host. My name is Daphne Royce. I am a real estate broker, architecture, and interior designer. Tineke Triggs is an award-winning San Francisco-based interior designer. She has been featured in many famous design magazines and publications. Her work demonstrates the best modern living in our time. Let's welcome Tineke and let her tell us about her designs.
Thank you.
Welcome, Tineke.
Thank you for having me today.
Please tell us about you and how you got started in design profession.
Sure. I've been in design now for 21 years. I got into it very unconventionally. As a little kid, I was a big artist and I painted and drew a lot. That was my comfort zone. Won some art awards as a kid, some coloring contests and national contests. But when it came to going into an art field as a child, I came from an immigrant family. They came from Holland and Scotland, and they kind of raised me to try to be more in a business world. So I was afraid of kind of going into the creative world and wasn't sure how to make money with it. At the time, I wasn't aware of interior design, though I did grow up with mid-century furniture and some classic antiques. I wasn't aware of that being in a career. Just coming from a modest home, I didn't know that that existed. So I went into engineering in college, operations research, which really helps me with my project management. And I went into finance and tech for 15 years. And during that time, I bought my first house when I moved back to San Francisco in the early 90s. And as I was kind of buying this first home, I figured out ways to fix it up myself. I didn't have a lot of money to do it. So I kind of worked with some friends of mine that lived next door to me who had been contractors and been in the design world. And they kind of helped me do my apartment in a shoestring budget. And I slowly started getting hooked. I started discovering the design community in San Francisco. I went back to take my kitchen and bath certification. And I also started drafting and teaching myself some of the basics of architecture. And that's how I got started. I was still working in tech. And then I started flipping homes with my husband when we got together, mostly small apartments. And when I was pregnant with my second son, I decided I was done with tech and I wanted to give a chance to do interior design. I felt like what I was going to offer was a really strong project management and financial side to the business. And I got my feet wet doing that for small projects. And now we're 21 years later and I'm a full-blown interior design firm.
Wow. Mid-century antique style to today, you're doing modern design. Tell us more about how you feel about these two different styles.
Well, for me, having a European background, if you actually spend a lot of time in Europe and in other cultures, it is very common to mix antiques with modern furniture. It's not a no-no in that world. It's very common to be passing down pieces. And I actually like the idea of the eclectic environment. So for me, I can do traditional homes, I can do contemporary homes, but all of them have an element of vintage or antiques in them, no matter what the style is. So if I'm going to do a modern home, I'd probably do a Vladimir Kagan, vintage piece or something in the mid-century to play with that modern environment. And if I'm going to do traditional, I'm going to bring in something in the provincial or 1800, 1700 antiques, French or Swedish pieces. I like to mix it up. And I think if you do everything new and shiny and everything all from the same era, it can be very limiting to long-term design aesthetics. So I like things to have more of a timeless vibe to them.
And since you're in the business for 20 plus years, what is the full service of interior design and what kind of a customer would most likely need your services?
So we do interior architecture, which is the kitchen and bath and renovation side of the business. We work very closely hand in hand with architects and contractors to create new builds or large remodels. We also then do all the fine furnishings and everything from the individual furniture to the accessorizing and the art. I don't want to leave out art. Art is very important to what I do. It makes the house finished. It makes the house come alive. So I don't want that to be ignored. I think a lot of people sometimes think that they can do their own design work, which, you know, some people have great taste, but pulling it all together is what makes a successful interior design firm.
When you say most likely in kitchen and bathrooms, but do you do entire house, including landscaping?
I do entire houses. We do a lot of ground up work. Again, when we do ground up work, we don't do it ourselves. We do work with a team of architects and contractors, of course. I cannot do it all myself, but I have a lot of experience with permitting and design of the construction side. And we help pick out materials, everything from the railing, the windows, the door hardware, to wallpaper, to drapery, to art, to anything that has attached to the house. So it's more than just the decorating side.
And I understand you do part of the hardscapes, correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's definitely part of a home. When you have a house that's an indoor-outdoor house, like my house in Sonoma, you have a hardscape, which is the materials on the outside, and then the furnishings that go along with that, and do everything from outdoor barbecues to outdoor seating and tennis courts and pools, things like that. I again work with landscapers and other people that are more certified in those areas. I do not have a green thumb, even though I have a beautiful plant behind me that a friend gave me. I'm okay with interior plants, but not picking for the exterior. So again, teaming with the right people to make that successful is the full spectrum.
Can you tell us why outdoor living is so important to people nowadays, especially after pandemic?
Yeah, well, the pandemic kind of forced us to be insular, right? And so people started relooking at the interior of their home. Our business started going a little bit crazy because the people wanted to redo their physical interiors. But the problem is we don't live and breathe in our homes all the time. We need to be out in nature. We need to experience the outdoors. What's connects us to our earth. So I think it's important. Also, sunlight and any of that connection to outdoors, trees, plants, nature is balancing and resetting for us. So even in an urban environment, you need to get yourself outside to reset and to feel more at calm. I think that's actually how I balance, is going for a walk in nature, sitting underneath a beautiful like Japanese maple in the Presidio, just walking Prissy Field to the Golden Gate Bridge and back. I mean, those are times where I get really, really connected to myself and to the world.
You have designed beautiful homes in many parts of the country. Do you design space based on clients' desires, the house styles, or the nature background, such as ocean, lakes, mountain, and forest?
All of the above, actually. When you're designing a house, I think of it as when I first meet a client, I think of the fact that they've given me a canvas that's blank. And as I sit there and interview them, I talk to them about where they come from, where they've traveled, what they like, the architecture of the house, what the house is surrounded by. And then I start the canvas and I start the painting. It has so much to do with the people that I'm connected to and that I'm interviewing with and my clients, because each person and each family and each house has its own unique form. And my goal is to create that and make it feel like the people that are living in it, and give homage to the nature around it and the architecture, and respectfully the architecture of the home.
Did you ever run into any difficult or challenge projects?
Oh, of course, always. I mean, challenges come in lots of different forms. We have had challenges where we have situations where we're delayed by permitting, or we are in a situation where we can't make decisions. We have a client or somebody that has a hard time visualizing, and so they really have a hard time kind of moving forward. So our job is to understand where their limits are, and how we can reevaluate that to get them to see what we're seeing. Being a visual person, I see exactly what I'm creating, how I communicate that to the client so they can also see what's in my head and what they're getting. I mean, luckily we're getting more and more visual tools out there to help clients visualize what it is we're doing. But we have, difficulties with renovation work. You open up an old house and there's so many more surprises than you think. Those things come up. We've had one difficulty. I remember one time I was wallpapering an old Victorian house, and it was lath and plaster, which is the old way of doing the walls, and it had had many layers of paint and plaster over the years, and you don't really know how well that is going to affect the wallpaper. You can have your nice smooth walls on the outside, and you think everything's going to be okay, but we found out that it was all somebody had done it incorrectly at one point along the way, not our team, and they had put wallpaper and then plastered on top of the wallpaper, which so then when we put new wallpaper on top of the new plaster, we didn't know there was wallpaper below, and the entire wall folded down like a peel off.
Wow.
Oh my God, I'd never seen that before. So we had to take the whole thing down and start over. But those kind of surprises happen in our world. And I think one of the things that our job is not just being a designer and a psychologist, but also helping the client understand that, we are here to support even when things don't go right. We're here to, have empathy for them and the situation, because this is their house and they're spending a lot of money. And so our job is to be empathetic around that and help them get through this process, which is not a smooth process all the time. When you're dealing with money and multiple people and multiple subs and multiple vendors and transportation issues and lead times and all of those things, it's not like you just go on Amazon and boom, your house is done. It's much more complicated than that. And our job is to make the clients feel comfortable, even if it's not a comfortable situation.
So you are the problem solver.
Yeah, absolutely. And which is kind of funny because that's what an operations research major in my college was about. I didn't know that that would become something so important in my job, but problem solving and maximizing and optimizing construction is all part of that process. You get a bump in the road, you have to figure out how to go around that road and keep going straight.
I can see your background is very colorful. Why is it important to use different colors, materials, and shapes in design?
I think that, not everybody's going to want to have pink and yellow office. I mean, I'm very bold in my color choices for myself, but again, I've done many houses where the color palettes are very, very calm and neutral. When you do color, I love it to connect with the people that I'm doing it. So it's got to be a color that they feel comfortable with. Yellow is very happy for me, and pink is very joyful for me. So I love being surrounded by it in my office. Some people love blues or cooler colors. So it's really about what they like and how I can bring it into the space. And if I am not doing color, it's really important to do texture. Because if you do everything very neutral and flat, the space is going to look undimensional and uncomfortable and really cold. So I personally don't like to live in that environment. Museums are beautiful, but I would like my museum to be comfortable. So that's where I layer in the texture elements. When it comes to color, I try to, not do more than 4 colors in a space. I like to do more than just 2, but I like to do no more than 4 technically, because that just ends up being too much. And then when I do color and I do patterns, I'm not matchy-matchy. I like to complement. I like all my things to connect with each other, but not to be exactly the same. So my top and my pants aren't all the same, not the same thing. They're all mixed and matched.
That's great to know. And what is your most ideal and comfortable design in your home?
My home. Well, my living room is one of my favorite places of the house. It gets the morning light, so it is the formal space. We didn't use it so much for years when we had smaller kids, but when the pandemic hit, it became the sanctuary because it gets the most light, so it got us the connection to the outdoors. And I also have some beautiful pieces in that room. I get up every morning, I do a meditation in my living room on my, I have this beautiful wingback chair with Romo fabric, and it's got pops of orange and neutrals. The room actually also has some orange stripes. I think being Dutch, I'm drawn to that color. And then I also have these two, which I just recently got, two monk chairs from the 1800s. They're vintage. They're these beautiful sculpture pieces in the room. So when I sit in my Eric Brand wing chair, I'm looking at these vintage pieces and looking out to the trees outside my house in the morning. I just love it.
What is your design philosophy overall?
So my design philosophy is always to open myself up to new possibilities with clients. I try to make sure that everything that I do is comfortable and unexpected. Part of my philosophy is to push the envelope a little bit with my clients, do something a little out of the expected, even if it's in a traditional environment. I want to take what their envisionment is and just push a little bit of something they hadn't seen before. My philosophy is always to be empathetic and think about my clients. My other philosophy is to always budget and be mature with finances and be mindful, because I'm spending somebody else's money. I want to make sure that I have prepared that properly. There's always a budget, no matter how big the budget is, and be respectful of what that is that the clients have as their limits. And know when not to push when I feel like somebody is outside their comfort zone, and when to give pause when somebody is not comfortable. When a client isn't comfortable with something, take a pause, take a step back, and then just hold their hand through the whole thing. And like I said, empathy is one of the most important things that we do.
Just a curiosity, do you travel or visit exhibitions to find inspirations in design?
100%. I go to Paris at least once a year for a big deco off, which is a big kickoff for all the new fabrics and vendors. I love traveling to Mexico. I love going to Spain and back to Holland. I'm always looking to go new places. I spent a year in Southeast Asia, South Pacific. I'm just completely drawn to those cultures. I spent a month in Africa and did a bike trip and climbed Mount Kenya. Completely enamored with the African culture. There's lots of other places I still haven't gone that I'm dying to go to. And I think that part of as my maturity is learning about history of cultures and art and furniture. It brings me closer to learning more about those things. And the only way you can really learn it, just like learning a language, you have to go and experience the culture. So that's part of what I like to do as well. I also love finding antiques. It's somewhat hard to find great antiques online. You have to really know what you're getting. The more experience I have, the more vendors I have, then I can go back to those vendors online once I've been there. But there's some great places all over the world that you can get beautiful antiques, and I love to physically experience that myself.
What is still on your bucket list, places that you want to visit?
I've never been to Japan. I'm dying to go to Japan. So I think that would be an incredible experience. My husband has spent a year there, and I have not. I've never been to Brazil or Chile. I'd love to go down there. I haven't been to Prague, which is like the Paris of the East, or St. Petersburg in Russia. I've never been to Morocco. So there's lots of bucket lists still to go.
Okay, well, I'm sure you will go there soon.
Yes, I will. I'm sure I will.
Your book, Design Mythology, just came out in early October. Please
Yeah.
tell us about your book and what inspired you to write this book.
It was on a, it was one of those bucket lists that, like, if I could have what I do and how I got here in writing and for someone else to experience, I really wanted to do it to share with people the process of how I got to where I did, and that with passion and hard work, you can do pretty much anything you want. I do believe that strongly, that if you're really passionate about something, that you can actually create it. It's about 5 to 8 years worth of my work in the book. And I was very blessed to meet the two authors that worked to write the book. I'm dyslexic, so I didn't actually do the writing except for the intro. But I worked with Heather and Chase, who are the authors of the book, and of course Gibb Smith, who published the book for us, to create it. And it was a passion project, and such a joy to have people be able to interview me and write my words in an eloquent way. I think what's great about my book is it's a huge breadth of different types of projects. So I think it'll appeal to a lot of different people. And I think that it's fun and playful, and it's really well written. So it's not just a pretty coffee table book.
I need to get that table book. I need to see what you have done in the past in design.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a great breadth of all over. Yeah, so it's a good book, I think.
Can people get that book locally, or have to go order from the Amazon or somewhere?
Well, there's lots of local bookstores. Love to support the local bookstores. If they don't have it, they can order it. You can buy it straight from Gibb Smith website. If anybody's interested, there is a Black Friday sale that they're for 2 days only. Thanksgiving and Black Friday, they're doing a 50% off their books, and my book is going to be on sale for that time. Very short period. You can buy it from a lot of local bookstores here, but also Anthem. I'm here in San Francisco. There is some stores in Marin. Also, Anthem carries it there. There is Themes and Projects, which is an art gallery, is carrying my book, and I've signed the books for them. But there's lots of other places that you can look to find the book. Just Google Design Mixology, you'll be able to find it.
Great. And how do people contact you for your services?
Any way they want. So they can get me through my name, and you'll find my website, Tineke Triggs, tineketriggs.com. And they can also contact me through Instagram. I do my own Instagram, so I am the person managing that. Or they can email me at tineketriggs.com. So either way.
Great. I will add your links to this interview.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tineke. I really appreciate your time today.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for interviewing me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that inspired me a lot. I need to do my house too.
Good. Awesome. You know who to go to.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.